Welcome to DS Trucks. So there is a semi-viral post circulating the internet right now, and it pertains to rust on F-150s. Now, we'll just pull up one of the titles here on my phone, and it says, and this is from Ford Authority, and it says 2021 Ford F-150 owners are already facing rust and corrosion issues. With this situation, I want to first of all go through the article and see what exactly are they talking about, what components are supposedly rusting on F-Series trucks, particularly 2021 F-150s, which we don't have a 2021 F-150, but rest assured that our 19 F-150 has the same axle tubes. One of the few parts that didn't really change from the 2021 would be like the axle tubes and the frames and all that stuff. The frames are a little different, but the coating and all that stuff hasn't really changed. Now, let's start by going through this article. Now, this is from Ford Authority. Let's see. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I'll go ahead and read it for you. Sorry if my reading isn't all that great, but you guys know what you're getting. If you follow the channel, you already know my reading is not all that great. But anyway, 2021 Ford F-150 owners are already facing rust corrosion issues. So I want to say, like, right off the bat with the title, it's a little edgy. 2021 Ford F-150 owners, and you know how it is. You can't really knock them. You know how the internet is nowadays. To me, it's not owners. It's one owner. It's one person. And it's not like all F-150 owners are having rust issues. I don't think. Maybe once we go underneath the truck, we'll see that all F-150 owners are, because honestly, I haven't been underneath the truck and I don't know what it's going to look like underneath. So this is going to be new for me as well as you. So anyway, reading it, there's tons of links. There's tons of links everywhere. All right. Rust is a sad reality for most vehicle owners, especially those that live in areas with harsh winters or near the salty ocean. But we expect our vehicles to last quite some time before rust starts to rear its ugly head. That hasn't been the case for a few 2021 Ford F-150 owners. However, as many of them are already facing various rust and corrosion issues mere months after taking delivery of their trucks. And then you see some pictures here, and I'll try to maybe put these on the screen better, but you can see a picture there of a big old rusty rear differential. It looks pretty bad. It's all rotted out. It's not rotted out. Keep in mind, the material that the differential, it's usually like cast iron, I don't know, but it's never gonna rust out. You could paint that. It's not gonna rust out. That's just not gonna happen. It might have surface rust only, and the metal's so thick it would take literally 200 years for that to rust out. But anyway, that includes Adam Daly of Spring, Texas, who recently told Detroit Free Press that his 2021 F-150 began showing surface rust on its axles and underbody components within days of bringing it home. In addition to that, rusty water dripped off those parts and left brown stains in his garage floor. So far, he says neither the dealer or the automaker has an answer for him. Okay, that could be annoying, having rusty stains on your garage floor. Like, it could be one of those guys that's got like a perfect garage floor, all epoxy coated, and then brings this truck in and just leaves stains on his epoxy. He's got to clean it. Me, if rust dripped on my floor in my garage, you know how my garage is. There's no way that, like, it's not an issue if there's a stain of rust on my garage floor. I literally wouldn't notice that. But all right, continuing on. I've been getting ghosted, Daly said. Ever since I got this truck, nobody knows anything. My 2016 F-150 had 65,000 miles when I turned it in, and it didn't look like this. This thing looks like it's a few years old and driven in heavy snow-like conditions with salt on the roads. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect people to get ignored. I know I'm a bad reader, but did I read that wrong? I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect people to get ignored. Okay, I read it right, but it's just not written right. All right. These parts look they were possibly sitting in water. These parts look like they were. Okay, so it's full of typos. Dang. Ford Authority or whoever typed this. These parts look they were sitting in water or somewhere where it's wet, Daly said. People have images that are around the shock mounts too. Okay, so he's saying that people are finding images where there's rust around the shock mounts, not the spring. Where would the springs be? He's talking about the shock mounts. So he's talking about the rear. So shock mounts would be in the rear only because the front has struts. Okay, this is a lot. There shouldn't be so much corrosion on a truck just built. I'm in quality control and I'm embarrassed I missed this, but I was so excited to get my truck. So he's in quality control and he's embarrassed. So he's embarrassed because he does quality control and didn't notice the quality of his own vehicle. And but he was so excited to get his truck that he didn't even look at the quality of the vehicles. Okay. Daly isn't the only person that's expressed frustration with rusty parts either. The Free Press spoke with 2021 Ford F-150 owners in 7 different states around the United States who have also noticed corrosion occurring within days of taking delivery of their trucks. There doesn't appear to be any discernible pattern to what trucks are affected. However, Ford is currently looking into it. Okay. We're looking with our suppliers into questions raised, Ford spokesperson said. Deep told the Free Press, while some F-150 owners' steel components may show signs of surface rust, this will have no impact on the part's performance or life, which is legit. It won't. Your rusty differential won't have any impact. The rusty differential won't be a problem. We will have more on this as soon as it's available, so be sure to subscribe to Ford Authority. Okay, subscribing to Ford Authority. I'm not going to, but anyway, let's think about this. You know, there is an issue. Like if it really is the case, and it kind of sounds like, you know, at first when I saw the article, I'm thinking, did this guy drive through the ocean? Like, did he drive on the beach or something and then get his axles under the salt water and then claim that, because you never know the full story. So did he claim that there was some kind of issue with his axles after driving in salt water? And it doesn't sound like that is what happened, but it does kind of sound like there's some quality issues at Ford with these components that aren't cosmetic components and maybe aren't getting the kind of attention or paint that they should get as a new vehicle. Nonetheless, guys, we have been working this truck all year long. It's got 6,000 miles on it, 6,500 miles of just snow plowing, and we're going to check it out. We're going to get underneath it. We're going to look at the axle tubes, and we're going to see if this is happening with this truck. Now, the axles should be kind of standard practice. And like I say, it's not, it doesn't mean that it's no issues or anything. And it doesn't mean that this guy's not having issues, because clearly every F series truck is not having issues. But let's get under here and take a look and see what's happening here. So, getting underneath the front. Here's a look at this axle. This is a Dana 60. I don't think Ford even makes this axle, so that could be an issue with this whole test. This truck was not undercoated, but yeah, here's a look at the axle that comes painted. I guess this is the wide track F-450 front axle, so it probably has a little extra love, but I don't know, but yeah, it looks good still. And maybe I will go ahead and get it undercoated now, but it seems to be it seems to me like, let me move that a little, it seems to me like there is already an undercoating here, and looking down there, the rear looks like it's starting to, like the paint's starting to kind of come off of it. Let me go back there and get under there and take a look at the rear. Here we go, underneath the rear. So yeah, the rear is still holding up pretty good. Pretty good, guys. So yeah, there's the rear. Looks all right. Let's look at the shocks. Where would the shocks be? I don't even see any shocks. It's got to be around here somewhere, right? Oh, there's a shock there in the back. I gotta go in the back to see a shock. There's some dirt. I'm gonna try not to get too dirty and go on this side and look at the shocks. Oh, so here's this shock, and like I say, it looks to be in good shape. No issues here with the shocks or shock mounts. Yeah, we're looking good. Looking back here, we do have a rubber flap. You know, while we do have a salt operation, this truck actually has a salt spreader on it, and we have a big rubber flap here to keep the salt from being too deadly for the truck. And clearly it is working out pretty well for us. All right, so 450 looks good. Shocks, shock mounts, they're way up in there, tucked behind the frame, but those are good. Those are good. All right, so shooting over to the 150. This is my wife's truck. She does not wash her truck. As you can see, it's filthy. But yeah, let's go underneath. 150. What will we find? All right, so underneath the 150. Whoa. It does look a little bit rusty. Yeah, it doesn't have the same quality of paint on it. Now, these are, I believe these are going to be Ford axles. Actually, I'm seeing what looks like a little bit of a leak here. All right, that could be a little bit of a leak there. But yeah, it does kind of look like that picture that guy was posting. Maybe the Ford axles don't have as good a paint as these Dana axles that get imported or brought in from different supplier. Looks like our seal is not doing so great right here. It's oily. I mean, it's not shot, but it's a little bit oily. Not a big deal, honestly. But if you follow the channel, you know we've done some heavy towing with this truck. Now, as far as the shock mounts go, down here on the axle, not the best situation. Up here where it goes to the truck body or truck frame, it's not so bad. But yeah, the axle's rusty here on the 150. Let me shoot over to the front. All right, guys, so I did end up grabbing a light because, yeah, to my surprise, the F-150s do have pretty rusty axles here. Now, I don't remember looking at this with my 2018 that I had before I got my 450, but it does look to be the case that the F-150s do seem to have a rusty rear axle. Yeah, so I would imagine if I had a nice epoxy floor and I drove in and this had water on it, it's dripping down to the floor, it might leave some rust stains on the floor, but I've never really paid too much attention to this. So yeah, suspension components. This is a newer truck. I mean, this truck has less than 10,000 miles on it, guys. So yeah, if you are concerned about this and you pick up a new F-150, if it bothers you, then you might have to get it undercoated right away, first thing, if you want it to look clean. Now, let's take a look at the front, like I was saying, with the light, and we'll see how the front looks. All right, guys, so here's a look at the front, and yeah, it doesn't have the same components. It has what looks like a A lot more aluminum components here. The front spindle right there is aluminum, so it doesn't look to have the same issues. I can't see the front diff really. It's in there somewhere, but it's way up in there, and it's got covers and everything, so can't really see the front. But anyway, let's go take a look at the 250 and see how the F-250 looks. All right, guys, here we are underneath the F-250. It looks better than the 150, and this truck has way more miles, has been put through the paces in the winter, and yeah, it looks better than the 150. The paint is starting to kind of, you know, rust. I guess you can see it say rust is starting to come through the paint, but it looks better than a 150. It doesn't look new by any means, but my guess, like I said, these axles come from different suppliers for heavy duty trucks. They're not Ford made axles. I think this is a Dana up front and something else up in the back. But let me shoot to the back and take a look and see how that looks. All right, so here we are at the rear diff, 2019 250, salting, plowing, and this is how it looks. It doesn't look as rusty as the 150 did, and the paint on this axle is just starting to kind of, you know, eventually this is going to be a big old rust ball. This rear end is just going to rot. It's going to rust. It's not going to rot out or anything, but it is going to be rusty eventually. But it's not as bad as the 150. Eventually it will look like the 150. Inevitably, unless I start, like, I don't know, undercoating and things like that. It's probably too late at this point. I could probably still undercoat the 450 because it's not showing anything yet, but it doesn't really matter. It's not really going to ever rust out or anything. But you know, if you're one of those guys who have a perfect floor and it's epoxy and you don't want it dripping rust all over the place, maybe it is worth doing some undercoating to the bottom axles and things like that. Now, as far as the frame, I think honestly I didn't really look too much at the frames, but let's take a look here at this frame. So yeah, the article didn't specifically say that there's anything wrong with the frames. I think it's just pretty much pointing at the axle tubes and some of the four-wheel drive components and some of the shock towers. In this truck, the shocks are inside of the frame rails, and they're way up in there and they look all right. But yeah, so what is the conclusion? What is the conclusion? So in conclusion, looking under the 150, yeah, the 150 confirms that the axle tubes do not have they don't have as good a paint as some of the specialists that make axles. And I think Ford, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ford for the 150s make their own axles. But for the heavy duty trucks, I think they outsource their axles. And being that they're axle specialists, maybe they have a better paint process or whatever for the axles that they export or that they supply. Whereas Ford makes their own axles, and I guess they don't have as good of a paint process or prep process or whatever for their axles. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. Comment below, tell me what you think about this. I think that it's not a big deal. I've never noticed. I've had 3 of these trucks and never even thought about it, never even thought to look. But if you're one of those guys, I mean, if you buy a limited truck and you've got a nice garage, and you know, like, those guys that buy those trucks, they're buying luxury. So maybe they should do something about that. I don't know. Maybe they should. But anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Comment below. Let me know what you think. This is DS Trucks. My name is Sean. See you in the next one. Over and out.